Hello, welcome everyone. This is WadiX, and welcome to our very first Critical Ops Community news stream. So, as you can see, the back of me is completely dark. So, just want to take this moment to let everyone know that this is a different type of stream than our usual community live stream that we usually have every few weeks or so. So, if you are here for giveaways and viewer games, please make sure that you do check our announcements on when the next community live stream will be. Main reason why we want to have this stream is so that we're able to be a little bit more transparent to our community. So, last thing to note is that, as we said, this is a different stream. So, any questions that we haven't answered in chat, our awesome moderators will be gathering them and sending them over to us to answer in the future. So we will not be looking at the chat at this time, but please sit back and enjoy the stream. We appreciate all of your time and appreciate you guys joining. So today we're actually going to be diving deeper into our competitive news and share our thoughts on certain topics and share with you what our plans is for the competitive scene. And joining me today is our game designer, the man, the myth, the legend, Edwin. Let me pull him onto screen. Welcome again to the stream. This very different type of stream, and yeah, I guess you can kind of let's talk about what you do and let everyone know that's watching this or the future VOD of what you do in the game.
Yeah, thank you for having me again, Wati. So I'm Edwin, and I'm a game designer at Critical Force, and my responsibilities include, well, game design related stuff, mostly kind of what you're familiar with is like weapons, new weapons, weapon balance, game modes, and how ranked works and ranked systems and whatnot. So that's pretty much to sum it up briefly. Yeah.
So all the brains behind all the new weapons, the balancing. This you're saying a little bit too little of the amount of work that you do, but
Yeah.
yes, it's really important to have you on the stream today, so that we can really dive deep and let our competitive players know that we're also thinking of them and thinking about our future in competitive scene. So
Yes.
I guess let's start off. We will first talk about the tournament organizer program, and let me switch over to the screen here. So, an update on the tournament organizer program. We're getting closer for release for the program officially. We will already this week and beginning next week start accepting organizers to the program and getting them set up into our official Discord with additional instructions of what's coming and so on. So a reminder, like we said on last stream, in case you missed it, that we first plan to have a group of organizers in the program, then later on open the program to others that are interested in hosting tournaments. So a quick recap is that in order for you to host with community prizing, you need to be in our tournament organizer program. This way, we are able to set up communication channels easier and be able to work better with those accepted into the program. So that's a pretty quick update, and we have many topics to cover, and I guess people that's watching the stream, everything that we're talking about, you'll see the bullet point on the stream itself. So the next topic of 13 versus 16. So this is a kind of big topic to talk about. We had a post on this on Reddit last week, and we were able to hear from the community, the competitive players and the community players, what they liked about 13, what they liked about 16, and I guess also the cons of each one. And let me first start off by listing all of the feedback. I guess you would say summarize. So I didn't. I'm not gonna say every single little thing because some of you guys, I thank you for your really detailed uh, feedback, but this is more of a summary. So, I guess before I start the 16 and 13, there was some notable ones. Like I like 16 rounds, I like 13 rounds, and another person that says I like 9 rounds better than both of them. So, but let's start off 16 rounds. Pros. It works for the current meta and economy. You have more time to come back. More rounds, you have more time to come back. The matches are interesting. And the competitive team has been used to 16 rounds for the past year. Cons. The games can last pretty long. Sometimes there are games like that are like a blowout. So the viewers that are watching, it can be pretty a one-sided game, and it can get pretty long for them watching that, and they might not even want to watch that. And the last con from the list would be best of 3 and best of 5 scenarios would take a pretty significant amount of time. Then we jump into 13. Pros. It makes Critical Ops different from other games. Games are not as long as 16, but enough time to play. Past tournaments have proven they work, and players get burnt out less in 13 format. That means there'll be less subs and so on. Cons of 13. They're too short. And the other con of 13 is pistol round is too harsh, causing the losing team to be 3-0 moving forward. So, first off, thank you for all the feedbacks. It was great. We would love to kind of have more of these discussions about future things that we add. Let's start off with going into the feedback. So, Edwin, let's go through the pros and cons of 16. So the first one, it works for this current meta and economy.
Yep. Yeah. I do agree with that fact, and I do feel like it with the current strategies and whatnot that are used in the higher competitive level. They kind of fits more with especially with the chances for coming back. But I do agree with that, and you have more time to come back. Interesting matches is maybe something that I could argue that the game is interesting regardless of the match. I like the round count, so I don't think that's really a very constructive point there, but I do agree with at least with the economy part, and
okay,
and I think it's a valid concern to point out, and yeah.
Okay, the next one is you have more time to come back.
Yeah,
So you covered that. Interesting matches. Yep, you. So we pretty much covered that. You said one sentence and it covered like most of it. And then the last one is competitive team has been used to it for the past 16. For 16 rounds for the past year. Yes.
Yeah.
I think I do want to also note there is that we Critical Ops official tournaments have never we never put 16 rounds in the past. We've always had 13 rounds in the past. But we understand that some of you guys may have liked 16 rounds from hosting your own events, and the tournament organizers have picked that to fit in this current meta and economy. Cons, the games can get pretty long, and I guess the main thing is it can get pretty long. I think from all of those, all the different cons that we listed earlier, and I do agree that the games can be very long, especially for a mobile game. I mean, even let's just saying 13 rounds is it's already like 25 to 30 minutes, right? So yeah, it's I can agree with those that like especially once you get to best of three, best of five, it can get pretty long.
Mm. Yeah, I think like yeah, I'm not going to compare those rounds, yes, but I feel like it's already like it's almost like it can be up to 6 rounds more than the best first to 13 with the 16 one. So but it's quite many rounds. It's all like it's one full match of a quick diffuse in the casual playlist. So it's gonna be quite a big of difference if you go to that kind of equal rounds. So
Yeah. But I mean, we'll cover this. We'll go through this. This is just the beginning of the stream. There's a lot to cover on this stream regarding this. But I guess we'll just cut. We'll fast forward a little bit. 13 rounds makes Critical Ops different. And I do think it's pretty nice to have this different type of rounds from other games. Any feedback on that?
Yeah, I think well, I think it's good to that like a lot of players are comparing us to PC game where it's the kind of mindset has been a bit different for a while, like for a longer period of time. They have had like their esports running for a while. For us, it's like we're kind of still well, we've had our competitive scene running for a while. But now with the kind of a new beginning, I feel like it's good to kind of stand out with a more quicker like quicker matches and in general like more viewer friendly, and especially being a mobile esports game, I feel like it's just makes more sense to kind of stand out and also kind of be a bit different for like compared to the other games. And yeah, I don't think making it different. Yeah, I think definitely that what it makes cops different. It's definitely a good thing in this case.
Yeah, I mean, even recently, I mean, the game, there's other games that came out. I'm pretty sure some of you guys have seen it on Twitch that has 13 rounds. Valorant has 13 rounds, and I believe I saw something from ESEA in CS that actually were talking about like the 12, 13 rounds as well. So pretty interesting
Yeah,
to see that as
yeah,
well.
I think the whole esports is going through kind of change in a sense that people starts to realize that shorter and more viewer friendly matches are becoming kind of the next big thing, I believe, like for kind of like because esports it won't be esports if there's no viewers. So I think people start to think more and more about the viewer experience rather than just how the game plays out. So
Okay. So, I mean, I guess we don't have to go through all of 13 because we will actually be covering most of this throughout the stream.
yeah.
So, let us bring up to the next point. The ideal amount of rounds for Critical Ops, as you mentioned earlier, Edwin. First off, is that 16 rounds. It's not something we don't like. Like we said, we noticed that the economy meta it can work pretty okay in 16 rounds, but the main problem like that was listed all the cons is that it does take pretty long amount of time. Like we said, even if a game of rounds to 13, it can last 25 to 30 minutes. So we believe that in our scene, the better choice is 13. Something to note. At the end of the day, right here, we are a mobile game. And there's multiple factors to consider for first to 13 in about a mobile game. And right off the bat, if people are thinking battery, no, that's not the main argument. That's not the main argument. It's multiple different factors put into account. Battery is a factor. You can say battery versus a PC. PC has a power supply plugged into the wall. Battery, you don't have that. But when you run out of juice, you have to put in the charger. And you have to remember that not everyone that plays this game has an iPad, iPad Pro, to be specific. So that being said, sometimes you plug in the power source, you're going to have some ghost touches for some devices. I don't know. I mean, I don't completely know all the details, but it just, I know it happens because I've had it happen to me in the past as well. So that's something to note. The next thing to note is that this is Wi-Fi versus a hard Ethernet connection. There may be players possibly disconnecting in the middle of the match, causing users to have a sub to come in. Then you have the comparison of keyboard and mouse versus touchscreen. Now this, you have to think about fatigue. Everyone has their own position of how they play. You're lying down. So some of our players before like to prop their knees up and put the iPad there and play. And then, besides those different positions, there's also, your hands possibly getting sweaty. I don't know. Sometimes I have to wipe my hands. Sometimes when the match is really intense. And another thing is, I don't know if you guys notice, my hand also gets raw from playing too much. So I have to have like this thumb guard. It's a touchscreen thumb guard. So my hand doesn't hurt after playing for hours. So fatigue is something to consider about. So as a competitive game, we have to think about everything when making this decision. It's yes, the competitive players are really important, but we also have to think about the whole picture, about everyone else. We have to think about the casters. We have to think about the tournament organizers. The amount of time, the longer the time that it is, that the more time they have to sit there or stand there broadcasting or casting. We have to think about the viewers watching. Yes, when there is really exciting games, no matter how many rounds people are going to be watching, but the average viewer, the new person that discovers our game, the new player that is discovering, watching the game. And then, of course, like we said, the competitive players, but you also have to think about the casual players as well. We mentioned, Edwin, that most of our player base is the casual player. I believe, would you say like 10% would be competitive?
Yeah, roughly so. Yeah, that's give or take.
Yep. So, I mean, we have all, and then one last thing to note is that we have all seen 13 be able to work with previous tournaments we have had in the past. So those are just some things to kind of let everyone kind of think about and let that sink in to think about the overall picture. Anything to add before I move on?
Not at this point. I think we're good to move forward on the next kind of chunk.
Okay, so the new standard. Let me explain further. Setting a standard. This whole project I have mentioned back then when we had the stream, April 2nd. I said that this is like a big puzzle. This is all kind of everything coming together. I can tell you now that we're not just here to just throw one tournament. We have by announcing official tournaments. We're looking at the bigger picture, and we're planning for the future. Everything we have been doing is a grand plan that is closely tied together. I can tell you now, at this point, this is the most important part, I guess you would say, is that we are setting a standard of 13 rounds, of not just for official tournaments, but for ranked and for community tournaments. So let's talk about that. Us setting a standard of ranked to 13, and of course this is something new that we're trying out, to align with everything that we're doing. But the whole idea of ranked to 13 is so that players who are playing can understand the 13 round format. They will understand better, when the flip is, when to buy full, when to save for eco. They will be able to learn from the best of the best, the people that are in the tournaments, in our official tournaments, not only from just sensitivity, buttons, placements, but also strats from the different experienced teams. So, with 13 rounds in ranked, a viewer will understand what is actually happening also in the official tournaments. So essentially, the everyday casual or new player of Critical Ops may be playing ranked, and they're actually practicing for tournaments in the future and not even know it. So then maybe, after they play for a while, they reach Elite Ops or Spec Ops, they're like, hey, maybe I'll give competitive a try. So who knows what type of hidden talent the next star we may find that is the next, pro player of Critical Ops. Any feedback on that?
Yeah. Yes, I do agree with that, and yes, we've been planning on increasing the rank rounds to first to 13 as opposed to first to 9. We do agree it might be a bit too long, but we kind of want to set a standard where ranked in our in-game ranked, which is kind of a stepping stone, I would say, the competitive scene, that it kind of gets closer to the competitive scene, and the kind of both benefit from the same rule sets instead of having the round times differing from matches to match wherever you play. So we kind of want to set this kind of unified rule sets that can be followed, and it's easier for players to understand and easier for viewers to understand, and I think it's a good compromise. But we'll see. We'll again monitor the changes and we'll gather feedback. The plan is to enable the increased rounds for ranked season 3, which will be coming soonish when it's done. So little spoilers there. And yeah.
But I guess one last thing to note is that when everything is kind of synced, everything is the same kind of rounds, isn't it easier to kind of introduce a new weapon, introduce different meta, so that everyone also understands it across the board?
Yeah, exactly. And I do agree with that, and it's definitely about just having it on common, everyone has it on a common page and has everything's the same, so it's easier to pick up, easier to view when you're viewing tournaments and whatnot. You don't get confused of, hey, you played our game and it's a lot less rounds or a lot more rounds than you're used to. So it just makes sense to have it unified in general. And we and I feel what we've discussed before is that kind of we kind of want to go the game first and the gameplay first, and kind of tournaments just follow that, and we don't want to force things from the tournaments in our game, but we kind of want the kind of game to dictate what happens in the tournament. So it's kind of also a kind of change why we feel why we wanted to try out the ranked going for first to 13 rounds. So
Yep. And definitely, I mean, before it's just kind of confusing. There's people ranked is doing 9, then we have some people doing 13, then we have some people doing 16. So this is kind of just bringing everything together so that we can make changes in the future that everyone can understand. And to further talk about tournament organizer program that we're rolling out soon, um, I mean, if you are practicing, let's say for official tournaments, you can now practice in the community tournaments while also earning prizes at the same time. So essentially, it's kind of like building a bridge, right? So like you have a bridge from ranked, the player is like, okay, maybe I'll try some more competitive things. Then they jump into community tournaments where they can win some prizes. Then they could go into the official tournaments that we're doing pretty soon. Okay. Now, 13 rounds. Let's just explain a little bit further because there's actually a lot more than just this introducing saying this whole new standard. 13 rounds. Why is it good? Think about the main problems that we listed in 13. One thing to note is the pistol rounds being too harsh. Some maps may be coalition or breach sided. But as a competitive player, as a competitive team, a top team, shouldn't teams be able to be good with any weapon, and even including pistols? Shouldn't teams that are considered one of the best teams be able to adapt to different meta and different changes into the economy? So keeping all of this in mind, we're not just saying 13, this is how it is. We're also looking into different things that we can improve in 13. Edwin, you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So I think like what people are forgetting, like with people arguing that 16 should be the round count, they're kind of forgetting that we can kind of change the like the argument against like 13 is that it doesn't fit our meta and economy. People seem to forget that we can change that, like, and we have some plans to kind of tweak and balance it out to kind of make the experience and make the economy and the economy fit the 13 round better compared to what it is currently. So that is something we have planned, like have on the plans for the future, not necessarily near future, but at least like that's something we think on, like when going for the 13, that we don't want to leave it there and just be happy about it. Like, no, we definitely want to improve it and just doing it, improving the whole deal then afterwards as well. So it's that's something we consider.
So possibly, let's say the biggest factor in 13 is the whole pistol round. So that
Yeah.
is like you lose pistol round, then you might lose the next two. So maybe
Yeah.
we can look into possible things like the losing team will possibly get a little bit more
Yeah. Yeah.
bonus.
That's something we've been considering, like adding some more loss reward cash for the pistol rounds, and maybe tweaking out the overall economy, like the weapon prices and whatnot, to suit more kind of the kind of economy meta what we have currently. So, and
Yep.
make it fit more the 13 rounds, 13 rounds better. So you'll have like less like, yeah, the pistol rounds shouldn't have that big of an impact in your rounds. And I do agree with you what you like, because there's multiple things that affect on the match outcome, not just like the economy, but also like the maps and which side you play. So I feel like if there's a CT sided map, for example, and you win the pistol round as a breach, then it's gonna be very heavy to kind of win
Yeah.
that CT round again. Like then it's gonna be a harsh thing to go like losing kind of 6 rounds instantly. But I feel like we have some ideas stored that can kind of improve that and make the experience better.
Yeah. So I mean, besides, I guess you would say, some possible changes. I mean, we're also thinking
Yeah.
about different things like possibly I heard some freeze time increase.
Yeah, that is something we've kind of planned on for ranked gameplay. That is kind of like currently you have quite short amount to kind of go through strategies when you're playing ranked. That is, so we're kind of planning on increasing it, the freeze time you have up from 10 seconds to 15 seconds. So it will be kind of, you have more time to go through strategies and buy weapons to your teammates and whatnot. So that's gonna be a thing.
Yep.
And yeah.
So I mean, just again, setting standards that we were able to kind of now look into different things that we can change, and it can be it won't necessarily in the future always have to be this is a competitive change, this is a casual change. Now that this is some sort of standard, it's like it's a change for the community in the
Yeah.
game. So that's kind of like the idea behind this. And I guess one more thing, kind of something that's pretty important as well. We want players to not only be good at certain weapons like AK, Euratio, and the MR. So one thing that we will be talking about right now is let me kind of go back. Some of you guys might remember this in Operation Warpaint. We had a mode called Operation Warpaint Diffuse. It was the game mode for where it was certain weapons on each side of the factions. So let's talk about this. Faction weapons.
Yeah. Yep. Yes. Faction weapons. So there's an idea we kind of initiated like with Operation Warpaint, the Warpaint Diffuse. We had the kind of event game mode where we split the weapon pools for both factions had their own weapon pools, and what we are kind of looking the players. I think the general reception for that game mode was that it was positive. People liked the change and they kind of liked the idea of having each faction having their own weapons. So we kind of took initiative on that and kind of wanted to take it further, and we kind of started playing around with an idea of faction weapons, and that's what we are kind of pushing forward now, and it's planned to be released somewhere in the future. Kind of so what that means that each factions in the future of Cops Diffuse will have their own set of their own weapon pools. Like you'll not be able to play with all of the weapons when you're playing offense as the Breach or when you're playing defense as the Coalition. So that's gonna be something we've planned out to kind of alter the economy as well. So and it's gonna be interesting, and I believe it allows us to do more, allows us to have more control over the economy balance when the both like weapons are priced for both factions differently.
So like essentially, it would make more sense to add certain weapons that fit into the new meta, right? So this faction weapons is planned to be across, casual diffuse, ranked diffuse, and of course played like we said in the whole standard. Whereas it's going to be in the tournaments as well.
Yes, in our like current diffuse rule sets, yes, that is planned to be the new rule set. Of course, in custom, when you host your own custom room, we recently added the option for you to alter those settings. That's gonna be still available for you to try different things. But generally, like what we kind of support and balance towards is kind of what we are kind of setting the standard in here.
So definitely interesting to be able to see, what weapons users will use on each side of the factions, and of course, we have to also keep certain things in mind. Let's say some of you guys may think certain maps. This is coalition sided. This is breach sided. I mean, maybe there is certain weapons that is on the breach that may be more powerful or and so on. There's a lot of things to consider about this that will really change up meta and the future of the game. So
yeah, I agree. Like there's a lot of it opens up a really good bunch of different possibilities in the future, like different maybe new different weapons and other like weapon possibilities that weren't really possible for currently the game works. And yeah, I'm quite excited about the idea and how it's been rolling forward. So I'm really looking forward for us able to actually release it and so on. And we've been testing it internally and externally as well and gathering feedback. So far the feedback's been positive, and I believe everyone's gonna like it, and it's gonna bring cops to really a new level. So It's gonna be amazing.
Yeah, we just had a test session before this. Actually, we were just
Yes.
testing, and then
Yes.
we got into the stream. But
Yeah.
definitely, we can't wait for users to kind of try it out themselves too in the future. But talking about new changes, so this everything we talked about so far, this is all about all the new standard, the new faction weapons, new ranked. This is all leading towards a new beginning. So a lot of you have been saying, hey, things have been quite the same, competitive. And yes, with everything that we're planning going to the future, you can think of it as a fresh new start. The reason why I want to talk about this now to you, as the competitive players are critical ops, is so that you have time to kind of prepare for the official tournaments coming up. So this is kind of to keep in mind. Okay, 13. Now you know you can have time to practice. Everyone's basically on the same playing field. Then you have to consider talking about faction weapons. Maybe you have to start using other guns other than your ratio AK, MR. Start thinking about, hey, maybe I should start practicing these other guns. Maybe you should start upping your pistol kind of skills a little bit as well. So it's mainly to get you guys ready, because this whole plan that we have, it's not like I said before, it's not just for one tournament. It's about setting up the future, about constant tournaments going on. And I guess I can start talking about the official tournaments going forward. Like we said before, official tournaments are coming. If you're thinking right now, off the bat, that these are going to be pro tournaments, it's going to be LAN, I can say that is not the plan at first. I mean, right now, like I said to some individuals, I'll be happy if I can get out of my house by 2021, before you even think about LAN. But coming forward, the official tournaments, what we will have in our first scene, is going to be called our Critical Ops Circuit. Now, this is planned to happen at least twice a year within a duration that it will run a couple of months. So the whole idea is kind of to have these official tournaments that's happening constantly throughout the year for something for you guys to compete in. And these events, these tournaments, or I guess you can say the circuit, will actually also have cash prize pool. The circuits, in my opinion, it's really important to have before thinking about any sort of pro league. We believe that, really strongly, that there has to be some sort of consistency going forward, happening throughout the year, so all of our players have something to look forward to. And another thing to note is that we feel that this would really help the teams learn to get the chemistry going, not just disband after losing one tournament. Playing together, adjusting if needed, this will really start to help teams and show us the serious teams that are in this for critical ops competitive. And we'll be able to see this towards the future and the future events that we hold. And one thing to note is that these the technology right now it's so cool that you can just jump on. I mean, you have your mobile device. You can just go on and compete in tournaments online to win prizes or cash. And we want that experience to be for not just our competitive players, but any of our players, anyone that wants to discover mobile gaming into our game. So yeah, this is pretty exciting, because this has been talked about for quite some time, about everything kind of coming together. And I hope that after hearing us today, it's just you kind of see what we're going towards. Like we're planning for what we want to do, setting standard, having tournaments. This is something we want to spend a lot of our time thinking about, because essentially I think as a casual player, you want to kind of understand how, like, hey, someone's playing, and then They play ranked. They understand what's going on. They understand everything that's happening. They want to be like the competitive players in the future. So after all these puzzles coming together, there's ranked improvements, new tournament organizer program, regular consistent tournaments from us. Then we can think about adding additional tournaments, Pro League on top. Then we can think about LAN. So, anything to add? No? I think that's it.
I don't have anything to add for that. Yeah, that was quite well summed up.
Yeah.
I kind of you had some questions. You asked me some questions previously, and you had those questions stored. I kind of went through already the faction weapons idea and kind of went through some. I can maybe go a little bit in depth on what kind of currently the idea is and what kind of there's gonna like we're gonna So basically, kind of maybe the most thing that players are interested currently is gonna be like the breach. Will go looking at how it's now. It's gonna be breach having AK and SG and then the coalition would have M4 and AUG and SA and HK would be then shared weapons for the both factions. So not every weapon will be split on the factions, and of course there will be balance changes to those weapons as well. That we're not gonna be just splitting them up, like splitting the weapons to different pools. We're gonna be rebalancing those weapons to fit more of the new economy and new gameplay we want to kind of it to fit. So rest assured, you like don't panic, and we're not gonna be just splitting the weapons. We're gonna do some actual work to make it work, and that's gonna be interesting. And also U ratio will be something that is going to be shared for both factions. That's something that players concerned when we tried out the Warpaint defuse, where we split all the snipers. So TRG and Eurasia will be shared, and SVD and M14 we're still working on those. So we'll see how the rest of the weapons will be split. But my main point is that we will be doing some balancing to the weapons when we plan on like releasing that will be part of the release, that will be like splitting the weapons and then doing some rebalancing. And of course, if you want to practice all of the weapons still in deathmatch, you can still play all of the weapons regardless of your faction. So it's only concerning diffuse game modes in our game. What else you had stored?
There's another question about 13 rounds.
So one question that has popped out also is the possibility of like, is there extra time possible in the future, or possibility of an overtime in the future? Yes, that is a possibility in the future. Like, but we're still working. We're quite relatively small team, so we have to consider all aspects. And I'm really grateful that we've had this opportunity now to focus a little bit on the competitive side and do some ranked improvements. I know that I was like super excited that we got to change the ranked system a year back, and we did that whole ranked system, the seasonal system, and I'm really looking forward to kind of put some work on improving that system. There's tons of good feedback that I've read. People want ranked rewards and whatnot, so a bunch of stuff that we're kind of having on the table. We'll just have to prioritize those and try to kind of bring those most meaningful features to our upcoming releases. So an overtime is something that we can consider and have considered actually. So we'll see if that's something we can add in the future.
Cool. Oh, thanks for that. It's just with things kind of normal. Like we can think about a lot more new weapons, new ideas to be put into it.
Yeah.
Some questions I think that I can probably answer that I've seen is LAN. So like we said before, LAN event is, I think LAN event is ultimately the kind of top thing that everyone wants to go to. Like, it's like people will want to get there. Like, you want to meet your teammates first of all. like be able to meet like the team owners, the team coaches, and it's me personally going to the LAN event. It was amazing to be able to meet some of our players that play the game. It was like like starstruck, like kind of like, oh, this is the player that I've seen kind of grow and do crazy in our game. It's like it's so amazing for that to happen. So ultimately, yes, that would be something that we want to do in the future. But we have to remember everything that we're doing right now, everything that we have been planning. It's all this kind of thing that all goes together. You have the tournament organizer program. You have ranked, all being kind of normalized. So you, as a casual player, let's say a new player, casual player, you're playing the game, then you play ranked, then you get to a certain tier, let's say Spec Ops or Elite Ops, you're like, okay, maybe I can think about getting more serious. Then you jump into community tournaments, you win some credits at the same time, then you jump into the circuit, you can compete to win some prizes, then you can maybe the Pro League on top, like the teams that qualified for the Pro League that didn't qualify can still play into the circuit. So there's something always going on for all levels of players in the game. The second thing, the second question was cash prize. Yes, the for the circuit. Yes, there is going to be cash prize. We'll be talking about that as well as the format pretty soon, but there will be cash prize, and most likely there will be in-game prizes as well in the circuit. So, to recap, everything that we have been planning is a long-term plan. When we announce that we will have official tournaments, it's not, again, just for one tournament. We want this to be ongoing, so we are making sure we have in our competitive scene a strong foundation with everything that we're doing, and it all just kind of works together. So by setting a standard, we're able to have new users be able to understand and learn and even look up to experienced players. This system, we feel, is very connected to the community, and we want existing or even new users to know that we'll be working together on this to improve the experience in the future. So at this time, if you missed what we covered earlier, we gave an update regarding our tournament organizer program. We talked about the first 13 to 16 round for feedback, and then we most importantly talked about what we have planned for the future of our competitive scene. So please make sure you go back and watch the VOD so you're up to date in case you miss any of it. But I think that's going to conclude our stream for today. Anything else you want to add, Edwin?
Not at this time. I'm super excited about the upcoming changes. I hope I'm cannot wait until we can kind of release those to you, the players. So really excited about those things. I'm really looking forward to what kind of feedback you have stored for us then. And hope this kind of gave some idea on what we are kind of working and what kind of changes you can expect from us regarding the ranked and competitive experiences. So I hope you enjoyed. I thank you, and thank you for having me here, Wadi. So cheers.
Always a pleasure. Cheers. So again, thank you everyone else that's watching. Thank you for your support. We are really excited to have this to be rolled out. So please keep an eye out on our announcements. Everyone stay safe. We'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.